You want to hear some funny stories about when I was studying Buddhism in my Bible study?
Oh goodness. Oh God. Yeah, hit me with it.
Okay. We were studying the book of John, I think it was. Something struck me as like, that sounds kind of Buddhist to me, and I kind of brought that up into the group, and they're like, oh no, but no, every objection. It's like, well, I don't really know anything about Buddhism. It just, that's what it struck me. And
Hmm.
so I secretly bought a couple of books on Buddhism, and I started reading them, and I'm like, Jesus must have been a Buddhist.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, just most of what he says comes from that perspective of contentment and, selflessness and not worrying about your needs and, it just
Hmm.
sounds so Buddhist. And so initially we would keep reading and maybe we moved on to a different book, but the sort of the background noise of Buddhism was in my head,
Hmm.
and there was a couple of times where I said, "Oh, that's really interesting," because I just read this in a book I'm reading about Buddhism, and um, it goes in line with the text, and their interpretation of the text would be such and such, and they got all the backlash you could think
Yeah.
towards me. And then I thought, how about I not say it's Buddhist?
Mhm.
So for like the next month and a half, any chance I could, I would present Buddhist sort of teachings and sort of like the lens of Buddhism on the
Mhm.
text, but not say it's Buddhist. And all
Mhm.
of a sudden, they're like, "Oh wow, that's really deep. I never thought about it like that."
You don't even know what they just heard, man.
Oh,
Oh.
I went to that Bible study probably about 6 months after leaving Christianity in my
Mhm.
heart, and at first it was I really didn't want to give up the fellowship because I really enjoyed the community,
Yeah, that community
and
is awesome, man.
yeah, and there was an aspect of maybe there might be some seeds planted, some cracks cracked, some light shine in. I got quieter and quieter and quieter. It got to the point where I had nothing to say.
Mm.
There was so little resonance with what their perspective was. I couldn't even like do like meet them in the middle on some stuff.
Right.
I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
and the crazy part is I went there for 3 years, and the last we finished up a book. I forget what book it was, but it was a good time to leave. And I said this will be my last time at the Bible study. And like, oh, okay, why is that? Are you moving out of town? Like, no, I'm not moving out of town. If anybody wants to, you know, I'm not going to go into the details here, but if anybody wants to have a, conversation with me later, I'm happy to talk about it.
Right.
I haven't heard from any of them in 3 years.
Mm. Yeah, that oh gosh. It that kind of stuff is what turns a person away, because it's like it's only one level of knowledge that I got from Christianity. And like I said, I love Christianity. Like I love Christians. Like there's some great Christians out there,
Yeah.
but just that level of understanding, it just wasn't enough to, soothe my soul, you know,
Hmm.
and it was just like, love everybody, but don't like the atheists,
Yeah.
don't like the
And
Buddha.
the Christian version of love, now, this doesn't hold true to all Christians, but it just seems like, in general, the love pours real heavy when you have some kind of value to them.
Yeah.
Either
Yeah.
you are on your way to being converted or you're already part of the group, but you have to have some kind of value to their system. Otherwise, there is no love. There's no reason to go out of their way for you.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're not lying. And like, I think that the book itself is probably the cause of that. You know, like if you look at the Old Testament and then you look at Jesus's words, like it's obvious Jesus is literally talking about a different God than what was in the Old Testament. You know, it is, you can't really debate it, you know, because you have a God over here talking about how he's going to wipe the Israelites off the map in the first place,
Hmm.
and Moses having to come in and intercede, you know, and say, no, don't wait, don't do it, don't
Yeah,
do it, please.
yeah, yeah. Moses trying to convince God not to be a genocidal maniac. Like what? What?
Exactly. It's like, hold on, something ain't right here. You know, and it's like, you know, it's certain people in the Old Testament that just don't matter, you know, and it sucks when you read the story of the Amalekites, and you know, I understand that story, but wiping all of them out, including the babies, the children, the sucklings, the animals, like what the animals do to you? Like,
Well, they spared some of the virgins to turn them into sex slaves, so that's something, right?
well, they cared enough about that part of life, I guess.
Let's save some toys for our other men
You
here.
know, and so it's like, you know, it's just certain aspects that just don't care enough about humanity, you know, and that's what I love about the OWASP, because it doesn't just bring in one perspective from one culture. And I really, that really bothered me when I was a Christian, because I was like, what about the people in Papua New Guinea that hasn't heard of the Bible? Like, what's going to happen to them? Like, what about the people that are on these different islands that we still probably never even seen before? Like,
Right.
what's going to happen to them? Like, what if they're good people and love each other to the fullest and are not trying to kill each other? Are they still going to hell because they don't believe in Jesus? Like, it's just like, yeah, I don't understand why it doesn't talk enough about the world if you're a god of this whole world. I don't believe people were just in the Middle East for so many years up until probably about 3000 BC, 4000 BC. You know, it was just so weird to me. And then when I opened up the Owaspy, immediately it takes you to a completely different place that we never even knew existed. You know, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, Pan, what is Pan? And then you do research on the Earth, and you have scientists saying there's a Pangea when all of the Earth was one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like there could be correlation there, but at least there's something being said about it. Let me find out what actually happened in Pan. You know, and so it was weird, especially like since I am a black person and I hold that identity very close to me, you know, and it's something that I never really felt fulfilled in Christianity, because it, first of all, I did the research, and there was a book, literally a spinoff from the Bible, that slave owners used in order to slave us, you know, and it was just like, I don't think I can just stay there. I can't stay in that place, because I don't know how I would feel about myself at the end of the day, you know. And I open up a WASP, and it talks about people over here in America, people over here in Europe, people over here in Africa, people over here in Asia, India, you know, and all these different places, and it actually doesn't make them out to be bad people, you
Yeah.
know. It tells you that you have, uh, first of all, there's a prophet that went into almost every region of this earth, but yet we only hear about Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that bothered me, because like, what about everybody else?
Yeah.
And like, and that's why I just was turned off at the end of the day by Christianity, because I'm really a humanitarian. I love the fact that we're humans. We don't really understand how significant we are to this world, you know, and the WASP just opens your eyes to it all.